If a witch chooses your home, they rarely confront you face to face. They move quietly, silently, deliberately, and before they strike, they plant something. An object, small enough to ignore, common enough to blend in, powerful enough to shut the doors God opened for you. Most people never see it. They feel the effects, but they never notice the cause. Opportunities dry up, peace weakens, arguments appear from nowhere, sleep becomes heavy, favor stops moving. And all the while, a strange object sits somewhere in the house, doing exactly what it was placed there to do. Some of these objects look harmless: a stone, a feather, a cord, a coin that doesn't belong to anyone. But behind the scenes, something darker was lurking, something far more dangerous, or so it seemed. One single item can interrupt a season of blessing. One misplaced object can silence an entire breakthrough. And the most alarming part, you may have walked past it today. Before a witch attacks a family, before they disturb your dreams, before they turn peace into confusion, they place something inside the environment, hidden in plain sight, sitting there quietly, waiting for permission to work. And tonight, you will finally understand what these objects are, why they are placed, and how to recognize them before they destroy anything else. And I'm not talking about charms tied with ropes, not the obvious things you see in old movies, not the objects you expect to look dangerous. No, these are items so ordinary, so everyday, that even trained pastors walk right past them without sensing anything. A button placed where no button should be, sand gathered from somewhere far from your home, powder brushed into a corner that you assumed was dust, a coin left in a room no one entered. This is not imagination. This is not superstition. This is spiritual technology, coded actions performed with precision. Every object carries an instruction. Every instruction carries an assignment, and every assignment targets something specific in a person's life. Some objects are placed to confuse the mind, to create arguments in homes that were once peaceful. Some objects are used to weaken prayer, to drain strength from the moment you try to worship. Some are designed to cloud spiritual sight, so you stop discerning danger before it arrives. And some are meant to seal the flow of blessings, the very blessings you've been praying for. These objects may appear harmless, but the hands that planted them knew exactly what they were doing. In the dark realm, nothing is random. Every placement is intentional. Every item is a doorway. Every doorway leads somewhere, either into light or into an attack. And the shocking part is this: most of these objects enter a home through trust, through friendship, through gifts, through visitors who smile, but carry instructions from altars you never saw. Confessions from former practitioners reveal the same pattern again and again. The attack rarely begins with words. It begins with placement, with infiltration, with a silent agreement created through an unnoticed object. What you're about to discover is how these objects are chosen, how they are empowered, and what happens the moment they touch the ground inside a home. And once you understand that, you'll see why the first object I'm about to reveal shocked even people who thought they understood spiritual warfare. After years inside the Dark Kingdom, I witnessed how these objects were prepared, how they were empowered, and how they were planted with precision. After watching how witches sabotage homes silently, I saw the patterns, the timing, the targets, and the way a single misplaced object could shut down a season of blessing. After counseling believers who discovered strange items at the exact moment their breakthroughs were approaching, it became clear that these placements were never accidents. I have seen homes collapse without a single argument. I've seen joy fade without a clear cause. I've seen gifted people suddenly lose direction right after something was quietly introduced into their environment. And every testimony, every confession, every pattern pointed to one truth: these objects are chosen carefully, assigned spiritually, and planted with intent. This is why what you're about to hear matters, because once you recognize the signs, you will never walk blindly again. The first object I found shocked me, not because of what it looked like, but because of where it was placed. Something so small, yet positioned with calculated intent. The second one terrified even the people who brought it to me. These were grown adults, strong in faith, yet their hands trembled as they set it on the table. They didn't even want to touch it with bare skin. But the third object, That one almost got this channel taken down when I tried exposing it last year. The moment I explained what it was used for, something pushed back hard. Videos vanished, audio distorted. It was as if a line had been crossed. And that was the moment I realized some things are quiet until they're exposed. But those three are only the beginning. There is an object that brings spiritual blindness to a home. People who once heard God clearly suddenly lose direction. Dreams stop, discernment fades, nothing makes sense anymore. That object is more common than you think. There is another one that opens the door to poverty. Not bad luck. Poverty, money disappears, projects stall. Doors shut without warning. And yet the object causing it looks innocent enough to sit on any shelf. There is an object used specifically to trigger sudden sickness, not long-term illness, but unexplained attacks that come out of nowhere and disappear just as quickly. Doctors can't trace it, nothing seems wrong, but the person feels drained as if something is pulling life from them. And then there is the object even prayer warriors miss, the one that blends in completely, the one that hides in a place you would never inspect, the one that does more damage than the rest combined. I will reveal that one much later. And beyond these, there are still others, objects made from hair, objects made from sand, objects made from items you once owned but never noticed were taken, each carrying an assignment, each carrying a target. The patterns repeat across testimonies, confessions, deliverances, and spiritual encounters. But the identity of each object is almost always hidden until the effects become unbearable. And the shocking part? In every home where these objects were found, the signs were there long before the discovery. She was a quiet woman, disciplined, prayerful, hardworking, but for 6 months, everything in her life felt like it had stopped moving. Every job she applied for collapsed at the final stage. Payments were delayed. Unexpected expenses kept draining her account. Arguments erupted in her home for no clear reason. It was as if peace had been replaced with a heavy, invisible pressure. She kept saying the same sentence to anyone who asked, "Something is holding my life still." But the strangest part wasn't in her finances or her relationships. It was the feeling she got every time she stepped through her front door. A sense of discomfort, a quiet weight, a heaviness that settled on her chest the moment her foot touched the doormat. She couldn't explain it. There was nothing unusual about the house. No shadows, no strange sounds, just that feeling, that shift every time she walked inside. Until one evening, after yet another argument that made no sense, she stopped at the door and whispered, "God, show me what I'm missing." And for the first time, instead of stepping over the doormat, she knelt beside it. She lifted the edge, and everything changed. Under the doormat was a piece of black cloth, tightly tied, knotted with precision, soaked in an oily substance that stained her fingers. It wasn't something a person would drop accidentally. It wasn't something a child would leave behind. It was placed. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She didn't call anyone. She simply stood there, realizing that the war around her had been waiting at the entrance of her home. That night, she began a midnight prayer. 3 nights, no breaks, no distractions. She prayed over her doors, her rooms, her sleep, and her destiny. By the second night, she said the air in the house felt different, lighter, still, almost as if something had released its grip. By the third night, her dreams changed. The confusion stopped, the fear lifted. She woke up with clarity she hadn't felt in months. And within a week, payments that were delayed suddenly came through. Calls she had been waiting for began to return. Doors that were shut without explanation reopened. Breakthrough returned, quietly, steadily, unmistakably. She later said, it wasn't the house that was the problem, it was what was hiding beneath the entrance. And that is the subtle warning every believer must understand. Witches use hidden placements because they know that doorways control the flow of blessings. What enters, what exits, and what lingers. If the entrance is compromised, the entire season can be affected. Comment "I'm awake" if you're still following. What happened at her doorway was not random. It followed a pattern used repeatedly in spiritual attacks. In the realm of the spirit, doorways are not just physical openings. They are access points, gateways, transitions between one atmosphere and another. Whoever controls the doorway influences the entire flow of a person's life. This is why witches target thresholds, front doors, back doors, room entrances, places the human body passes through daily without noticing anything unusual. It is never about the object itself, it is about the assignment placed upon it, because anything that carries a ritual instruction becomes a kind of spiritual padlock, silent, small, and incredibly effective. When a padlock is placed in the natural, movement stops, access is denied, progress is blocked. The same happens spiritually when a charged object is positioned at a threshold. That is why the woman's blessing stopped moving, why opportunities slowed, why peace thinned. The padlock was the cloth under the mat. Once it was removed and confronted through prayer, the blockage broke. But here is the part most people overlook. The enemy rarely repeats the same method twice in the same home. Once a doorway is exposed, they shift to another strategy. And the next object is far more dangerous. Because the second object does not look suspicious. It doesn't hide under a mat. It doesn't sit in the dark. It doesn't smell strange. It doesn't feel threatening. It looks harmless. It looks thoughtful. It looks friendly. It looks like a gift. This one is subtle because it looks harmless. A Christian man, faithful, hardworking, consistent, suddenly began to notice something strange. At first it was his finances. Deals that were guaranteed began to fail. Clients who used to call every week suddenly disappeared. The atmosphere in his home shifted from warm to strangely cold. But the real fear began in his dreams. Night after night, he saw the same shadowy figure standing in the corner of his room, not moving, just watching. When he woke up, the room always felt heavy, as if something invisible had entered before he opened his eyes. One morning, while sweeping outside, he noticed a small carved stone near his window, perfectly placed, unmoved by wind or rain. He didn't think much of it. It looked like a decoration, but his spirit felt uneasy. That uneasiness was the warning. After 3 days of the same dream, he finally picked it up. Immediately his hand felt weak, like a sudden drain of strength. That's when he knew. This wasn't a gift. It wasn't decoration. It was a spiritual monitoring object. He didn't wait. He destroyed it, prayed Psalm 91 for 7 days, and anointed every doorway in his house. On day 4, the shadow stopped appearing. On day 6, the heaviness lifted. On day 7, his dream changed completely. Instead of a shadow standing in the corner, he saw a bright light entering through the same window where the stone was found. That same week, 3 old clients called him back. Business that disappeared suddenly returned. Problems that seemed to choke him financially were broken instantly. His income was restored within a month. Peace flooded his home. Because sometimes the enemy doesn't attack with fear. He attacks with something that looks safe. Type 1 receive if you believe God reveals hidden traps. What all these objects have in common is simple, yet powerful. They carry assignments, invisible instructions that influence life without anyone realizing. Think of them as spiritual USB devices. Once they are placed, they begin transferring energy. Not physical energy, but spiritual energy. Draining joy, draining peace, draining money, draining favor. From the moment an object is planted, its purpose begins. Some work slowly, bit by bit, affecting finances, relationships, dreams, opportunities. Some operate quietly, hidden under rugs, on shelves in gardens. Others are more direct, designed to disrupt sleep, vision, and discernment. And here's the part most people don't realize. The most dangerous object is not the one outside, not under a mat or sitting on a porch. It's the one placed inside your room, inside the place where you rest, where your mind is most open, where your energy is most vulnerable. That object sits quietly, invisible to the eye, waiting for your permission to affect everything in your life. Later, I will reveal exactly what this object looks like, how it operates, and why even the strongest prayer warriors sometimes miss it. Her attacks didn't start loudly. They began in the quiet hours, the moments when the human mind is most open. She was a devoted believer, but almost every night she found herself trapped in the same disturbing pattern, recurring nightmares, unwanted spiritual encounters, a presence she couldn't explain, and each morning her strength was gone. Her body felt heavy, her spirit felt drained. She told me, I sleep, but it never feels like rest. That was the first sign. One afternoon, during a simple cleaning routine, something shifted. She lifted her pillow, stared, and what she saw made her freeze. A small bundle, tied, deliberately arranged, a mixture of hair, powder, and thread, hidden directly where her head rested every night. That object wasn't random, it was placed with intention, because whatever controls the head, controls the mind, and whatever controls the mind, controls the dream gate. She didn't wait. That night, she rose at midnight, she prayed with fire, she anointed her pillow, her hands, her doorway. She declared her space untouchable. And something happened. The nightmares stopped, immediately. The strange presence vanished. The heaviness lifted as if someone had cut a chain. For the first time in months, she woke up rested, clear, light, at peace. And here's the truth her story reveals. Objects near the head carry the strongest assignments, because dreams are gateways. If this is helping you, comment fire. When it comes to bedroom attacks, the pattern is almost always the same. The objects are small, simple, easy to ignore, yet incredibly effective. Tied threads placed with intention. Strange powders, barely visible unless you're looking for them. Random feathers found in places no feather should be. Hair mixtures, always bound, always hidden. Coins that were never yours, appearing inside drawers, under pillows, or near the bed frame. These are common signs, but they are only the surface. Because there is one object, one specific item, that witches plant inside bedrooms that looks completely harmless. Some even think it is holy. They trust it, they keep it close, they sleep beside it, and that is what makes it deadly. There was a family, good people, prayerful, careful, yet completely unaware of what was happening inside their own home. One Sunday afternoon, a visitor came with a gift, a holy object, something that looked blessed, safe, protective. They received it with joy. They placed it in their living room. They believed it would bring light. But the moment it entered the house, everything shifted. Arguments rose from nowhere. Sickness started moving from one person to another. Money stopped flowing. The home felt covered, as if something pressed down on the very air they breathed. They prayed, but their prayers felt blocked, like their words fell to the floor instead of rising. Days later, a prophet visited. He didn't touch anything. He simply looked at the item, and his face changed. He told them the truth. That object had never been blessed by God. It had been dedicated to a marine shrine, programmed to silence joy, choke finances, and weaken faith. The family removed it immediately. They anointed every doorway. They prayed over every room. And slowly, the atmosphere shifted. The heaviness lifted. The sickness stopped. Arguments dissolved. And for the first time in weeks, they slept in peace. When the object left, the attack left with it. Share this video with someone who may be under attack. There's a spiritual rule many believers forget, and it explains why these objects work so effectively. Anything carried into your home carries its altar with it. If the altar behind it is righteous, blessings flow freely, peace enters, favor expands. But if the altar is dark, everything freezes, prayers feel heavy, finances slow down, relationships strain without explanation. Because the object is never just an object. It is a carrier, a doorway, a silent messenger of the altar that empowered it. And this is why discernment is no longer optional. It is necessary. And we're not finished yet. There is still one object left, and this one is the hardest to detect. It doesn't look dangerous, it doesn't look spiritual, it doesn't even look intentional. But it is the object witches rely on the most, because almost no one recognizes it. The most dangerous object is the one a person carries with them every single day. There was a man who couldn't understand what was happening to his life. Every opportunity slipped through his fingers. Interviews collapsed. Open doors closed before he could walk in. He prayed, he fasted, he worked hard, but nothing moved. And strangely, the attacks always felt worse whenever he wore one particular jacket. He couldn't explain it. He only knew that each time he put it on, a heaviness settled over him. His mind fogged, his energy dropped, his confidence disappeared. One night, after another failed opportunity, he felt pushed to check it closely, not casually, but carefully. He turned the jacket inside out, ran his fingers along the seams, pressed every corner, and then he felt it, a small hard knot, stitched deep into the lining where no one would normally look. He opened it and found a tiny charm, something deliberately sewn into the cloth, something carrying an assignment. That was the object, the one that followed him everywhere, the one blocking every door he approached. He went into prayer immediately, 3 days of fasting, serious deliverance prayers, anointing himself and his clothes. By the 3rd day, everything shifted. His mind became clear again. His strength returned. The weight he carried for months suddenly lifted. And within weeks, the door that had refused to open finally opened. An opportunity that had been delayed for years came to him effortlessly. Comment "Open my eyes" if you're still here. Let's make this clear now, because confusion is one of the enemy's strongest weapons. These are the objects witches plant to block blessings, under doormats to choke favor at the entrance, near windows to monitor movement and weaken prayer, inside pillows to attack rest and invade dreams, in clothing to follow a person everywhere they go, in gardens to bury assignments that affect the entire household, in shoes to weaken steps and delay destiny, behind furniture to operate silently in forgotten corners, in bags or pockets to control opportunities and drain strength. These objects are strategic, they are intentional, and they are placed with one goal: to stop what God has prepared for you. But here is the truth most people never hear. Even if an object has been planted, you are not helpless. Now that everything is exposed, here's what you do. Step 1. Pray for revelation. Ask God to open your eyes. Ask Him to show you anything hidden, anything planted, anything assigned against your home. Step 2. Inspect the home. Check doorways. Check windows. Check bedrooms, bags, clothing, corners, and anything gifted to you. Look with intention, not fear. Step 3. Destroy the object. Do not keep it. Do not store it. Do not pass it on. Remove it and destroy it completely. Step 4. Cleanse the atmosphere with Scripture. Read aloud. Speak light into the rooms. Let the Word fill every place that has been affected. Step 5. Seal your home with prayer. Walk through every area. Cover your doors. Cover your windows. Declare that no assignment will stand and no doorway will be open to darkness again. Type "break" if you're ready for freedom. Your home is not a battleground. It is a gate of glory. And whatever was planted can be uprooted. Whatever was spoken can be canceled. Whatever was sent can be destroyed. You are not powerless. You are not uncovered. Your home belongs to God, and no assignment can stand where His presence rests. In the next video, I'll reveal the 7 dream warning signs that appear right before witches attack a home. These signs show up earlier than most people realize, and recognizing them can save an entire season of your life. You cannot afford to miss this.